Peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Hit the like button, family, as you come in, as you watch, when you watch, whenever you watch. We are the team, and now we're just gonna have a brief discussion about the smoke that Greg Carr wants. Is the brother a professor? I think the brother is a professor or something.
Yeah, out of Howard University.
Yeah, he's out of Howard. And it's a lot of problems coming out of Howard, man.
Yeah.
One of Daryl Scott's colleagues.
Daryl Scott. Ain't Yvette Carnell from Howard as well?
Yeah, but I don't think she attained a advanced degree in anything.
Oh, okay. She's a little small fry. All right, so we're gonna play Greg Carr's video, and we're just gonna have a discussion about what Carr said. I kind of want to let some people get on first before we play the video, but
yeah, we can do that.
I was about to say I don't know how much sense it would make, but
you could let some people fall in.
Let's
touch on another topic real quick if you want.
Yeah, so this reparations conversation is really taking off. Black Bambi asked the question, are we on Clubhouse as well? Yes, Black Bambi, we are on Clubhouse. With the exception of my brother Ali, we've been trying to get him to come on.
Peace, Black Bambi.
He ain't budget. He's not budging on that front yet. But yeah, we're on Clubhouse. You could look me up under Lord Abba. You could look up Brother Logic under Logic Supreme, and you could look up Josh under Josh Gray L. Kelly Pryor says, "Oh my God, I saw that clip. I wanted to reach through the screen when he said that." See, the problem with the ADOS movement, it's not even a movement. The problem with the ADOS organization, cult, right, is that it's so funny. They helped, we can be honest about that, help create a groundswell for the topic of reparations, and then at the same time pulled the plug on it.
That's funny. That's funny.
Like, we're gonna create the groundswell, and then we're gonna pull the plug on it if you don't worship at our feet and latch on to the teat of our leadership, right? So somebody asked, "Is
follow and swallow, bro?"
Follow, yeah. Hey, their pastor, Kevin Cosby, out of Louisville, Kentucky, the dude that got the mega church where the homeless people wash up at the side of the church, he said that the followers of Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore need to be following and swallowing. That's what he said. That's what he said. Peace to everybody in the
that kind of stuff makes me think crazy. Like, never mind. I ain't gonna even say.
He said, they lead and feed, and y'all should follow and swallow.
Y'all should follow and swallow.
That's that old pimp babble. I don't understand how you could be
a
man of God and tell people that they shouldn't have their own type of mind and that they shouldn't be able to critique leadership. They just need to follow and swallow. That's blind servitude. That's you sound like Pharaoh, not Moses. What's going on?
That's what he said. Those is his words and not ours. Follow and swallow. They feed and lead and feed and follow and swallow. I'm like, what type of pulpitism is this that's going on?
What's going on in the book?
Like my man said homeboy was at the church with the thing
Yeah, got people showering up on the side. It's a lot of crazy stuff going on around.
It's too much craziness. I've been on the phone with some people who have told me some stuff, former insiders. You can't be an insider and have all the inside information and then kick people to the curb and not think that they're going to go and tell your enemies everything that was going on and everything that was said. So, you know, we've gathered a lot of information about the cult of Yvette Carnell and her simp sidekick Antonio Moore and the Princess 666 and the guy from Chicago and them, right? He's from Iowa. Comey the Clown. Like I don't even consider him a Chicagoan because I know like real Chicago dudes like our brother Logic, etc. I know women from Chicago tougher than that dude. He's from Iowa. He's from Iowa. You know, so Cynthia said, well, it's the church. That's kind of what they do. Yeah, you're right. You are absolutely right. You know, but all right, we got a couple people in here. Let's get into Greg Carr's claim about
who the beneficiaries of a reparations program should be. That's basically what he's talking about.
Yeah,
I think on the surface anyway.
I'm trying to blow this up, so there's no way to make this a full. Oh, yes, it is. I don't want to show. I guess I won't be able to do it that way. Let me see. Hold on, fam. But the whole issue of qualifications is coming up.
Yes.
You know, and Dr. Darity had made a proposal.
Yes.
It wasn't nothing serious. And the evil Yvette, that's what I call her, Yvette the evil. She went and blew it all out of proportion and made it seem like Dr. Darity was trying to include people into our justice claim, et cetera, et cetera.
And then they lied and said we was doing it too. That's what they said. Yes. BTP trying to include. I was like, what? I didn't even say nothing. What are they talking about?
Once Yvette Carnell said that the platform of Tamara Johnson Shirley was All Lives Matter, I knew that she was a liar right then and there. And she's done nothing but lie ever since. So I don't even think that they're qualified to have.
It's almost a situation like, you know, she'll say anything and like, what will she say next? She'll say anything. Like she just opens her mouth and lies fly out. It's just crazy.
Yeah, she's a liar. So it is what it is. So let's play this.
Is that at the beginning? I think you might.
Yeah, you know, it is. It's that red line is from somebody's screen recording. But I got it queued up. Let's play this and listen to Greg Carr saying he wants to smoke.
See, this is where we don't get into this ADOS foolishness. Everybody slow down, okay? Because it isn't just about who was enslaved. It's about now what attaches to blackness as a consequence of enslavement. So I don't care where you come from in the world. People of America, blackness attaches to you as a form of stigma.
Greg, the ADOS and the foundational black people gonna be upset with you.
All of you. I want all of the smoke because it's baby smoke, number one. And number two, I'm a descendant of those who was enslaved. And number three, bring your best in fact, bring them all. In the words of William Rakim Griffith, I take 7 MCs, put them in a line, and then find 7 more brothers who think they can rhyme. Then find 7 more before I go for mine. And that's 21 MCs. 8 up at the same time. So the point is that because when you see this, you understand is there's no art.
Yeah.
Hey, look, y'all know me. I'm a old New York City battle rapper. I love the smoke. And you ain't no Rakim, Mr. Carr. I'll let you know that right off the rip. You ain't no, but you got a group of young Rakims right here. Rakims and Nas's and Biggies and Hoves right here. And I'm just saying, if you really want that smoke, we're open to bring you on for a discussion. But let us discuss what the brother said. Who wants to set it off, man?
I could, real short, and because I know Logic gonna go in, right? Let me just say this: what these people are doing. Well, let me start like this. they have a problem with Dr. Darity's criterion. Let's just be clear, because this is what this is about. These Pan-Africanists, because he's one of those type of people, right? He probably is hooked up with Cobra and Narc, etc. Right? I'm sure he is. These guys have a problem with the criterion that Dr. Darity established, and they want the United States to be responsible to paying reparations for white supremacy. Not it's because like he said, this ain't even about slavery. This is really, and what he's saying is this is really about white supremacy and the consequences of blackness on the globe. This African diasporic thing, because all people that's been classified as black have been suffering under the hands of white supremacists. So reparations should really be about that. Well, here, so at the end of the day, what he's expressing is his opinion about what reparations should be. It's nothing but his opinion. I don't care what kind of degree he has behind his name. I don't care what kind of department he may chair at Howard University or whatever. He thinks he knows about American history, African history, or whatever it is. None of that matters. What matters is what happened to the specific tribe of people in this country that then goes on generationally to their descendants. That's what matters. Don't talk about it ain't about slavery. Who are you to make that kind of claim? Who are you to make that kind of claim? And what makes you think your opinion of what reparations should be and what it should look like outweighs the 40 million other black people who might disagree with you? Many of whom I'm sure would. Go ahead, brother. I'll stop there.
But before you go in, Logic, let me say this real quick. There's always a court of public opinion. And in the court of public opinion, opinions are used in place of the actual facts, right? To quote Rakim, it's not an actual fact. It's in fact, it in fact has been proven. See, when you go outside of the court of public opinion, then things start to make more sense. On the one hand, you have Larry Elder, Herschel Walker, Burgess Owens, Candace Owens. You have Diamond and Silk. You got the one goofy little dude eating a chicken with the Make America Great Again hat on. It's like a whole team of coons that you got to battle with on the one hand, who's pushing back against our justice claim. Then you have the Afrocentric scholars who do not understand the potholes in their Afrocentric ideology that causes the issue of reparations to be muddied by their misperceptions, which Carr just displayed, which Narc and Cobra display on their website as well, with their 10-point program talking about repatriation, et cetera, et cetera. Then the third leg is the one that's already fixed, and that is the leg of white supremacy, which spans parties. It spans the Democratic Party and it spans the Republican Party. So this battle of ours, we got to tighten up our ranks first and foremost. We have to tighten up, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this pop-up, have this discussion. I tagged Carr, I tagged Avis Weaver, I tagged Roland Martin. Hopefully they're watching, and hopefully they get the memo that we're here. You want 7 MCs? Well, you got Big, you got Nas, you got Hove, you got a couple Big Daddy Kane. I mean, it's a couple of us on here. I'm just saying. You get what you asked for. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm on some Tupac shit. So what I'm saying is, what I'm concerned with is that this brother is a professor at Howard University, and he has been entrusted with the sacred duty of educating our precious black minds, right? Developing them. So look at the tragedy that we have sitting up at Howard, that we've trusted to, historically carry this legacy of, producing some of the best black minds in the country. And then you got this dude up here. What this really is it's kind of like step and fetch it politics masquerading in dashikis and shit. It's really weird because like they're doing the same thing for that they'll step and fetch it Tom's there for the white man, but they're doing it for African identity purposes, right? So what they're doing is trying to neglect their Americanism, and they want to do African politics in America, which makes absolutely no sense. The Afro-centered perspective doesn't create impactful policies in America, because in order to be effective in American politics, you have to have an American-centered perspective and an American political point of view. And it doesn't matter who came over here. And they knew the history, the racist history of the country of the United States of America is known worldwide. You came over here knowing the history's country. I mean, knowing the history of the country. So that has nothing to do with what type of stigma that you have to face as far as blackness is concerned. You willfully came over here and came into that country's history. So that's, if you want a justice claim for oppression, you got to create your own justice claim for immigrants who come over here and have to face whatever they think they need justice for. That's some shit that y'all have to build on your own. When we're talking about reparations, what first thing you have to understand is reparations is not an instrument to fight white supremacy. Reparations is about repairing specific damages that were done to a specific group of people. And so if it wasn't done to you, it's not about you. And you don't, and miss me with that, oh, those are our African brothers shit. Because if my brother was in a car accident and I wasn't in the car with him, I don't get the insurance claim. It's just that fucking simple. It does not matter. All of this romanticizing Africa and this African oneness is fantastical nonsense. You understand? Because it doesn't really exist anywhere but in America, where they get in daishiki and doodoo cloth and they hold hands and they speak Swahili and and you know what I'm saying? And they have all these feel good after they play the fucking djembe and everybody feels good. But that is an emotional thing. There is no economic Pan-Africanism. There is no political Pan-Africanism. There is no, the African government isn't sending money over here to fund Black American institutions. You understand? That's not what's happening. So Professor Carr, you don't work at an African university. There is no Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism is an idea that has never properly been manifested and fulfilled in any way. And why? Because reparations has not happened. We're so damaged and we're still living through so much damage politically, economically, and socially here in America. We can't even reap the benefits of our own sweat equity that we put into this country yet. And then when we finally get into a space where we can do political action, we have people like you getting in our way talking about Africa. The young people not trying to hear none of that shit, because this is why the young people not trying to hear nothing about no Africa. They're Americans and their whole life is rooted in America. Their whole perception is American perspective. No one has, and we love, and don't get me wrong, I love I'll spend years studying Dr. Clark and Dr. Barashango and Du Bois and Blyton and all the and Garvey. Love them. None of them have improved the situation for Black folks in America politically. We still have state oppression. Even after Marcus Garvey came, we still had several decades of lynching in America. You understand? And the Back to Africa movement was a failed plan, because even then nobody was trying to go back to Africa. We American. Nobody want to go to Africa. You understand?
We freedmen
We're
over
freedmen over here.
And the fact of the matter is, Greg Carr works at an institution that's named after the white dude that was the head of the Freedmen's Bureau. So
exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Ooh, come on now. You're spitting now. How you get to work at an institution designed to produce freedmen education and talk about African shit? It doesn't make any sense. None of that makes any kind of sense. And for people like him, you got Roland Martin. I don't know what Roland Martin is talking about. And everybody clapping their hands and amen in that shit. I don't know why they're in front of people talking like that. This is some dangerous stuff. This type of, you know, I got a lot of jokes, but I'm trying to be serious, man. This type of stuff is detrimental to what we're doing. One, this reparations energy is making people lose their mind. They're upset that the freedmen are waking up and they're demanding what this country owes us as a specific group. And they're sitting back and they're seeing what that looks like on the other end, right? It's the same fears and paranoia that this country has had since day one. They don't want us to wield that type of political, economic, and social power, right? And then the token Negro politics, these tokens who have been doing armchair revolutionary shit. You a revolutionary from your office in Yale or your
All the
office
books,
at Howard,
all
but
them
you're
books
not in
behind
the,
them.
you know what I'm saying? But you're not in the streets living this sacrifice of people who are out here putting it in every day, putting skin in the game to help liberate their people. You doing armchair liberation. That's not how this thing works. If you want to help, if there's people like Carr and people like some of these other professors want to help us, produce some work that'll help us. Do what Dr. Darity did. Write a book that helps us. If you're a subject matter expert in history, do some historical writing outlining the justice claim. If you are a economist, write some stuff and breaking down the numbers. But if you're not here to help, just get out of the way, man. HR 40 had 30 years to do what it was supposed to do. That's 3 decades. Now, what we see now is a situation where the elders, not all of them, because there's some good elders out there, but we have a significant group of elders who want to die with the torch in their hand. They don't want to pass that torch to the next group of trailblazers. You
That's
understand?
right, brother.
They
That's right.
want
Exactly.
to die with the torch
Exactly.
in their hand, and that's just don't make no sense. And that's not how it's supposed to work.
What you got, Josh?
Josh screen is
Josh
frozen.
frozen. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, well, there you go.
You got to unmute,
Nah.
Josh. All right.
Yeah. Peace, everybody. I'm in the whip right now, so I'm pushing. But I just want to say,
Hey, this topic's so easy. You could
yeah,
drive, sip some coffee. You could do whatever and address this
Light
crazy.
work.
Go
So
ahead,
that-
bro. Yeah, this is light work,
yeah,
man.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
try to use your GPS navigation and
You can
all
do
at the
all-
same time.
You can multitask and defeat Greg Carr's argument rather easily. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, man. Look, and I would prefer that this is not even really a debate. This is a discussion. You know, it would obviously it's not a debate because he ain't on, but we just debating the issue. But I mean, we're just discussing the issue because you know, like my thing is, what are you doing? You're trying to like we have several people that are making the wrong argument and definitely at the wrong time. You know, think about how we just were on this debate on Sister Tamara Johnson Shirley's channel with I wasn't a part of that, but I was listening in.
Who is the sister? So that if Roland Martin and Greg Carr and the rest of them are listening, who is this sister that had us on debating that European guy? Who is she?
Yeah, she was a person who got if y'all can run down like how much of the vote count of Georgia she got in that runoff election. She was a candidate for United States Senate, and you know she did well in that. You know, considering the circumstances, she did well in that election, and for the Senate seat in Georgia that Warnock won, she ran against Warnock in that special election. So this is a sister who had on another person who was also running for that Senate seat, but who was also a college professor, is a white guy, and he was trying to make the argument like against reparations and more for like putting that energy towards class-based policies that's going to uplift everybody, you know, in a particular class situation in America. And I just see that this is like the Pan-Africanist costume way of doing the same thing. You know, you want to give things that uplift everybody. You want to do things that don't do anything about reshaping the caste system where our people are at the bottom. And you know, there's a white society and a what we call a dominant society who's built for and to where they have the privilege and they're at the top. You know, like that's my thing is this is the same thing similar to like what Obama was talking about. I was in a discussion with somebody on my Facebook wall, a couple of people actually, and we were talking about well, if Obama is not he supported reparations. Like, no, he did not support reparations. He said it was justified. There's a difference
Yeah.
between saying something is I support something and something is justified. You know, like I can say I support you. I support you. That means I'm gonna give you money. When somebody attack you, I'm gonna defend you. It doesn't say if I say I support you and somebody attack you, and then you're like, well, they, you know, they got a right to attack you too. You know, they got a right to beat you too. They got a right to dominate you too. And if I was them, I would be feeling like, why this person now all of a sudden they want to not be dominated? You know, how is that supporting me? And it's the same way. Like, if you're not going to support the argument for reparations, I don't know how you can get around. I don't know how you can get around that with black folks and still like say that you're not supporting white supremacy. And that's the argument I was making. If you're not supporting reparations at this point, you're supporting the structure that keeps us at the bottom, and by default you're supporting white supremacy. So that's kind of where I'm gonna leave it for right now.
Indeed. You know, wait, we got our brother Grim on as well. Before you come in, Grim, the last live stream we did, we were speaking about Obama's podcast interview, I guess, that he did with Bruce Springsteen. And one of the things that I did was I played a clip from an earlier interview from when Obama was president. It was a 60 minutes interview. And in both instances, we watched as white men pressed Obama on the issue of reparations. White men, where they said, but, you know, you gave the banks money. From Bruce Springsteen to the guy that interviewed him on 60 Minutes, I don't know his name. He said, they said, but you gave the banks money. And one of the things that Obama said was in the Bruce Springsteen discussion was, well, white folks was mad about that too. So he was saying that white folks will be mad if black people get reparations. But at the same time, DACA was an initiative that was passed by the Obama administration, right? That was something specific. During Obama's administration, millions of 400 plus million was given to certain Indian tribes. Specificity. When it comes to us specifically, it's the rising tide must lift all boats. We can put it in what did Kamala say? No, I'm not going to do nothing that only benefits only black people. No. But when asked what are the 5 things or whatever she would do on day one during the primary debates, she lists off DACA, gun control. So when it comes to other groups and other people, there's specificity. When it comes to us, is forget them Negroes, always. Then you got to take on people like Carr, people like the Cobra and the Afrocentric group, the Jam, Iwuyar, what's her name? Jessica Michelle or something like that. These type of people, they come and muddy the water because now they're saying that reparations should be paid by America to all in the diaspora, right? Again, so now our specificity, which is the point of my little rant right here, is being glossed over again. When it comes to CARICOM, there's specificity. The Caribbean community only. Blacks in America would not get a dime of CARICOM's reparations. And we shouldn't. We don't deserve it. We didn't go through any slavery or Jim Crow or redlining, racial oppression, extrajudicial killings, etc., etc., etc. in the Caribbean. So naturally, our people would not receive a dime for their, like, this is simple. So this isn't a debate. Josh is right. And if the brother Carr was on right now, it still wouldn't be a debate. It would just be class in session. So, Brother Grimm, you know, What do you have to say to this particular topic, bro? They trying to do this Afrocentric thing, and they're muddying the waters, man.
Peace. That was for me, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say, man, it's the supreme grand hustle. And I could understand and respect everybody's call to a universal blackness as far as us being dealt with in regards to white supremacy the world over all the various nations. The bottom line is this: make everybody who deserves to get paid by whatever party that they was injured by get paid. But don't get mad because it's a specificity claim given to us alone for our party. You know, it's just like if I was in a car accident and I sued someone. My wife, if my wife was home or my children were home and they were in the car, well, you know, they can't be a part of the lawsuit because they weren't necessarily physically injured in it. And that's what this whole thing is really all about as far as
Simple.
specificity.
Simple.
It's as simple as that, you know? And it's not about us not liking Jamaicans or not liking foreign-born blacks. You know, even with the Adolf School or whatever, and them dealing with the different onslaught of insults by people of Caribbean and African descent. Those things, me personally, I just chalk that up to white supremacy. White supremacy has burned us world over. So all the people that's trying to come into whatever great nation that they coming into, they gonna carry all of the evils of colonialism. We all got that bad. I just chalk that up to that. But to denigrate a specific claim is wrong, because I've been to CARICOM meetings. They had I think it was NARC, if I'm not mistaken, that came to New Orleans a few years back. And, you know, I went to their conference and stuff and sat in. I didn't, you know, this was way before this. I really didn't have no issue with anything that they were saying, you know, in regards to their justice claim, you know. And, you know, man, pretty much, man, Black Americans have supported every freedom initiative by any and everybody around the world, you know. Pretty soon we're going to be jumping behind this Asian thing where Asians getting, you know, assaulted in the street. We are the justice people. The freedmen are the justice people. Now, basically, the freedmen and freed women are asking for specificity in regards to the reparations claim. Now the world got a problem. And, you know, and a lot of the ways is entertainers, the intelligentsia of the race, all of those people, man, is like guilty of pushing this argument forward. And I'm gonna have to say this, man: the evil of how those people were attacked by a few, the way the ADOS movement did this and set those arguments up, I would have did it a special way if I would have had those gripes, not to create as much venom. So it's just like when you on a schoolyard, somebody shove you, you gonna shove them back harder. So basically what that did was that basically muddied the waters so people won't listen to the more valid approach as far as specificity. And that's all I got to say.
Yo, I got a question. You know, the brother's all on this Pan-African energy and whatnot, but then he go invoke the name of Rakim Allah. I don't understand why wasn't he saying, you know, I'm like Fela Kuti? Why wasn't he doing that? See, every time they want to invoke coolness or swagger or anything to make whatever it is they're doing attractive and cool, you have to come to freedman politics and freedman culture, because we gave this country coolness. Nothing was cool in America until we made it cool. Everything. So that's just a key point. He go mention a hip hop icon.
That's right.
You understand? He didn't, but he's on some African stuff. He didn't invoke Fela Kuti. He invoked Rakim. You understand? So and talk about MCing and all of that. But not only that, this is the thing, right? Reparations in regards to the way we're going about obtaining it is our political business. If Black immigrants from the Caribbean and Africa and anywhere else on the planet felt like they have a grievance with this government because of whatever they feel was unjust that happened to them when they arrive, they need to construct their own justice claim based upon those events.
That's it. It's that simple.
It's it. There's nothing, and I would not get in your goddamn way. You understand? Why are you getting in ours, and why are you extra smart ass niggas getting in your own way? This don't. The brother said he was a descendant of slaves himself. So what the hell is wrong with you, brother? Y'all love this. I don't know what it is that gets you that y'all love the attention that you are able to monopolize so much that you feel like if everyone gets their just due, I'm not going to be the special exceptional nigga no more. Now you're gonna have all these exceptional niggas running around here, and so they're trying to preserve their token space, but they're trying to masquerade as, you know, Black Panther, African dashiki revolutionaries. Man, we pulling the dashikis off today, man. Let's go.
Man. Go ahead, Ali.
Is Greg Carr a descendant of freedmen? Because I heard him say he's a descendant of former slaves, but slavery happened in you know, of people of African descent. Slavery happened in multiple places. It didn't just happen in colonial America. So I saw somebody earlier make a comment that Greg Carr has been disrespectful to our justice claim and to and then somebody else said something about, yeah, a lot of, you know, basically like a lot of immigrants have been. I don't even know, is he like of immigrant stock, which is not a problem. I don't care if he is or not, but I'm just wondering, is he actually of our a particular freedman tribe, or is he from, does anybody know if he is or not? Can somebody even, you know, in the chat maybe answer that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I saw something a while ago, like a couple years ago, in that where he said he was. I had to verify, but I believe so.
And he could be, but go ahead, Lord.
No. I'm just saying, I'm trying to look up. I don't see really anything.
You know, a lot of our people got that overseer blood running through their veins, man.
That's right.
Want to be nigga overseers and shit. That's the problem. You know, we have a lot of stuff in our history and in our background that we got to deal with. The same people that was against us then are against us today. And it ain't no different than, you know, you got people, you know, don't cross the gun line, boss, and tell them about the gun line. And, you know, these niggas ain't working, boss, and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? We still got those type of people we got to deal with. That's just the unfortunate business that we have to attend to, but it must be done. So we got to deal with the Herschel Walkers, the Larry Elders, the Burgess Owens, and all the people like that. But they're a small minority group, but they have been undergirded by white supremacists and political influence. So you got Roland Martin and Carr and everybody that come from that specific segment are captured by the Democrats. You understand what I'm saying? So they are all thirsty for political tokenism. So they feel like if they don't protect the party, they're willing to uplift the party over their own people. So they're not really for policies for our specific group. They're for party affiliation and whatever can I do to get a pat on the head by somebody in the Democratic Party or somebody in my social group that's gonna say, good job, boy, here goes a biscuit. You understand? They turn in political tricks and doing backflips for business and shit like that. We have to understand, as the people, we have to have solidarity in our plight. And we're not going through nothing that, you know, Huey P. Newton didn't have to go through, and Bobby Seals and all them courageous brothers and sisters. We're not going through anything Martin Luther King and, you know, Slick and Snick and Core and all of them had to go through. We had the same type of opposition from among our people, but we have to come together as the majority and just be louder than the minority.
That's a fact. That is a fact, brother. Yeah, so he's all ours. I seen the sister's comment. He's all ours, no doubt. But look, you know, yeah, he's not an immigrant. So but yeah, that's what we were talking about. You know, we know that we have these Larry Elder type of dudes or whatever, you know, on one side, and then you have your, brothers like this on the other side coming from academia or whatever, right? And it's real interesting that a lot of these guys coming out of academia do a lot of jaw jacking, right? Doing a lot of jaw jacking, but you can't find in their history where they actually did anything. Now, this is what's real funny. All of this, he wants to smoke. I want to smoke. Why you want to smoke? How come the 30 years that bill has been sitting around, you ain't never did anything that we know of that's documented to show that you pushed that bill further, right? You waited until these people that y'all don't like now, the ADOS group, you don't like them, but you waited until they came on the scene, and then all of a sudden everybody was all up in arms about this particular bill that's been sitting there for 30 years that you all let Barack Obama come and undermine, because when Barack Obama became the president, any support for that bill all but died.
Facts.
The few votes that it did have in Congress went away with his presidency, and nobody checked him on any of that stuff. So now you want smoke? Why didn't you want smoke with that dude when he was killing the bill?
So
and
look,
what is he even talking about? Well, come on, Dr. Carr. That's not even your culture, man. That's not even your slang. What are you talking about you want the smoke, man? Where'd you learn that from, brother? You know what I'm saying? You practiced that before you said that. You don't even talk like that, man. You grew up talking jive. Come on now.
Killer. You grew up
hey,
talking jive.
What Marv Deep said, you a blower trying to speak the done language. What the dilly with that though? It ain't banging. Hey, yo, stop playing, man. Look, this is what I want to do. I want to share this article real quick from the Los Angeles Times that was published in 1995, because the charge is that anybody who is a reparationist is somehow, and this is outside of the ADOS group. We know they introduced a lot of xenophobia into the picture, but you know, we're not xenophobic over here. We understand the differences between our tribe and the several tribes that come from the various African nations. So this Los Angeles Times article, and shout out to Brother Josh for finding this one, reads, column 1, U.S. blacks, a divided experience. Animosity clouds relations between Caribbean immigrants, native-born African Americans. Competition for jobs, differences in their dealings with whites are at the heart of the split. I'm going to just read a little bit. You see the date right there, published in 1995 by Sam Fullwood, the third pause. Fullwood. Anyway, New York, that's another one of those. You know what I'm saying? That's another one of those street things that us descendants of the freedmen be saying. It says New York, Colin L. Powell, the retired 4-star general who recently passed up a run for the presidency, is one. So too is Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan, whose Million Man March cemented his role as an influential player on the national political scale. That sounds like the opening of one of the chapters for Our Kind of People, a book published by Lawrence Otis Graham that speak to the boule. I just had to say that because it popped in my head. Anyway, it continues. From popular entertainers like Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier to Harvard sociologist Orlando Patterson and novelist Jamaica Kincaid, from Ford Foundation chief Franklin Thomas to Black Enterprise magazine founder and publisher Earl Graves, people of West Indian descent occupy some of the loftiest niches in American life and culture. Yet below the surface of this high-achieving world are strains of animosity between blacks who entered this country voluntarily by way of the Caribbean and those whose ancestors came to America chained to slave ships. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up, right? And it says here, this next sentence is important. For the most part, the divisions are submerged, rarely exposed to those outside the respective communities. The date when this was penned, 1995, is very important because we can see that it was an issue that was basically kept contained. Now that it is out in the open, everybody is trying to come against those of us who seek our own specificity, right? So, and then in 95, it was Caribbeans. Now it's those of African descent, those who have migrated over from the continent, their children who have now graduated from some prestigious universities and have taken some of the top jobs in the United States of America. And the headlines read, the first black to do this or the first black to do that, when in all reality, they're not the first black to do it or the first black to do that. If we're dealing with blackness as a term of Americanism, which in large part it is, Mr. Carr, then the first black to do it would be someone who is a descendant of the freedmen, the formerly enslaved here in the United States of America. So it is our duty now to help create specificity. This is the only way that our justice claim can be crafted without any ambiguities, without any. So we can't allow people who have platforms like Roland Martin and his guests to try to levy these terms of xenophobia, because we're doing what other nations in Africa do. How can you be a Pan-African and not know that on the continent, people, they don't identify themselves as black. They identify themselves as their tribe.
Come on,
if they're Nigerian, they'll say that they're from Nigeria. Not only will they say they're from Nigeria, they'll tell you, oh, I'm Igbo, or I'm this, I'm that, within the country of Nigeria. If they're from Ghana, they're going to tell you what they're going to give you their Ghanaian nationality, and they're going to break down the tribes, whether it's Kenya. So this idea that we can't be a tribe, that our quote unquote blackness has to be this inclusive, spread out thing is asinine when you look at it. And it shows that you are helping white supremacy and doing the job, which is basically keeping their foot on our necks. I want to, before any of my brothers jump in, I want to read this last sentence again. For the most part, this is 1995. It says, for the most part, the divisions are submerged, rarely exposed to those outside the respective communities. So what we have now is akin to white backlash, right? Oh, you want to free slaves? White backlash, kill Lincoln. Oh, you want to create a Freedmen's Bureau and do all the white backlash, compromise of 1877. Oh, your heavyweight champion beats our great white hope, white backlash. The 60s, when Martin Luther King Jr. was in Chicago and Illinois marching, there was a woman that held up a sign, a white woman that said, what about white civil rights? Which is akin to all lives matter today. Again, white backlash. So what happens when we have white backlash and melanated skin, using their popular term, right? So we have to address this thing head on. And like I told Carr, if he's listening or watching, or any of his contemporaries, if you're Rakim, you got a couple Biggies and Nas's and Hoves, and my brother Marlon said Twister from Chicago up on this stage as well. Straight up.
But he's not. He doesn't want to invoke anyway. Well, I wanted to know, because you hit a very good point. You can't let the Democrats, right, use this xenophobia straw man argument to try to get us to walk back some of our positions, right? Because you have to remember, right? They think that we don't research politics and we don't understand. Nobody was calling one of the greatest black senators in the Democratic Party's history. I'm talking about Senator from Texas, Barbara Jordan. She wrote the book on immigration reform far before it was a Republican talking point and everybody was mad about Donald Trump for talking about it. Barbara Jordan said immigration is a matter of national interest. And she said that all the talking points that you hear today, you can go research Barbara Jordan, senator from Texas. You understand? Powerful black woman, one of my favorite senators of all time. She wrote the Democrat playbook on immigration reform. And she talked about closing the border. She talked about how much immigration is enough. She talked about immigration taking jobs from the low-skilled jobs all the way up to the genius visas and all of that. She was one of the greatest to ever do it. No one called her xenophobic for looking out for the national interest, because immigration is a privilege, not a right. And the citizens have a right to speak on whatever the national interest is, and whether it's to a benefit or to the detriment. So when they invent phobias, they invent these things. There's no xenophobia. What the hell do we got to be scared of? You'll be hard pressed to find somebody in their family who has not married an immigrant from the Caribbean or from Africa. We're not scared of them. We're marrying them and having babies with them. We just talking about specific policies that come from specific harms done to specific people. How do you try to morph that into xenophobia? That is craziness. And if we want to see, they want us to stay into a political childish position, and they don't want to treat us like adults. So if we come up and we start speaking toward the national interest, because we see and we look at the data, we have analyzed the data in regards to jobs on the low end and the high end, and we looked at all these other things on how pensions are impacted and Social Security is impacted, and we look at this data and say, you know what, we have to slow this down. This particular policy that we have right now is hurting the national interest. If we get up and speak to that, we're just being citizens. That's called your civic duty. That's not xenophobia. What the hell are y'all talking about? But y'all let these captured Democrats just say anything, and now you're scared to speak boldly about politics that you care about. I ain't gonna do that. None of these brothers is gonna do that, and you shouldn't do it either. If you are firm in your position, you can back it up with empirical evidence. You understand? Then you are serious about those things. That is your right as a citizen to stand on your position. Don't let nobody use scared tactics and words, and now you're scared of opprobrium, and you don't want no public disapproval, so you'll just compromise anything. Nah, that's not how it works.
They're trying to shame our people, scare tactics and all that. And they definitely, trying to shame you into taking the position. And like you said, walking back our positions on the specificity of our justice claim. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. So if he's serious about wanting the smoke, he'll step up. He said he wanted from everybody. So we're in this space, right? People like Yvette and Tone, they know who we are. They got problems with us. So we're in this space, and we're here saying, "Yo, what's the deal?
What's popping?
What's popping?
what's really? Hey, yo, what's really good, homie? You want to talk that talk? What's really good, homie? Straight up, come get this work. Come get this work, fact. Dr. Carr. You should be able to take us easily, Mr. College Professor. OG Otis said Dr. Carr's go-to response is, "You lack knowledge." From there, a wholly false premise.
I'll say this. Let me say this for Dr. Carr. Go ask your man Darrell Scott if we lack knowledge.
Yeah.
Go ask your brethren, your Howard University brethren over there.
Your fellow bison.
Your fellow brother from Howard, professor. Ask him if we lack knowledge, because we done tangled with that brother on a couple of occasions too. Ask him, do we lack knowledge? So you can't use that. You can't use that because we have actual proof from one of your own fellow colleagues that work there that lack of knowledge is damn sure not the problem here, with us.
Not here.
Because we're not ADOS.
Facts.
We're not ADOS. So maybe you detect a lack of knowledge from the leaders of ADOS, but not them.
And
we're not them at all.
It's real heartbreaking what's happening. All these professors coming out with these strange positions, because my daughter wanted to go to Howard. Now we have to rethink of the whole. I can't send her up there to professors who's teaching this kind of madness. Now we may have to go to Bethune-Cookman or Southern or Grambling or something, or Spelman, because I can't send her to the Bisons and lost their mind.
Brother
Somebody
Josh.
said PhD stands for permanent head damage.
I know y'all
You
heard me
know,
say that before.
you
Yeah.
know, and you know it's messed up when you gotta reconsider sending your child to a college that's supposed to be, you know, historically black and producing these great black minds, but after dealing with and hearing people like Carr and Daryl Scott and hell, even Yvette Carnell, I'm worried myself, bro. I might have to agree with you on that. Yeah, brother Josh.
Yeah, I you know, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Which HBCU is the best? We can debate on that one. We can debate on that one.
Man,
You know,
I know who
I
got the
got I
best
got.
band, and that's Bethune-Cookman, man. I know who got the best band now.
Well, I'm gonna rep mine,
The
Virginia State.
Wildcats. Them
I'm
Uh-oh.
Wildcats.
gonna rep my VSU Trojans. That's all I know.
Uh-oh.
Okay, but the
Uh-oh.
But
Wildcats, come on now.
Uh-oh.
they do their thing. They do their thing. You know. But but I just gotta say, man, you know, like it's just real interesting. Like, how can you? Why is it that people think that? You know what it is? Another thing is, I think it might have some of this might have something to do with uh, people that get a lot of information and they think that they have a tactic or a strategy that they think that can work to get some type of progress. But what did I mean, so many of our people in the past have talked against the incrementalism, you know, and how incrementalism is a way to just maintain to, you know, I was listening to this new book. I'm not even gonna mention the book yet because we know we still building on it, but I want we're gonna talk about it soon. But in this book, it was a quote that was talking about I think it was a Baldwin quote, and I don't have it in front of me, but you know, it's talking about how long we need to wait for justice. You say wait for this, wait for that, but we waited a long time. You know, basically, we waiting on. Do you we waiting on your time now? I mean, you use up all of our time waiting, just
Yeah.
waiting, just hold on. Now, anyway, we ain't got no more time to wait, man. Like reparations is do you not understand the situation our people are in? I think another thing is when you maybe people are out of touch. You're out of touch and you don't understand that we're on the precipice of we're not even I wouldn't even say we're on the precipice of a collapse. We didn't already collapse. Like we just haven't flatlined and been buried underneath the ground yet. But as a group, look at our upward mobility compared to other groups. And the economic situation is we're so far behind. It's not no all lives matter policies is going to catch us up. No, you know, investing in education, investing in these little small pieces and in doing things in increments. That's not going to move the needle in terms of helping us to be able to be American for the first time. Hell, you know, you look at something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and people have, you know, a vision. And some people even want that to usurp the United States dollar. And you think about the tragedy that will happen if something happens to America to where it's no longer the economic power, and we built up this whole country and we never got a chance to access none of that. We never got a chance to position ourselves in front of no next wave because we ain't had no capital to get a position. You understand? So no, there's no time for incrementalism. It's no time for small little wins that don't mean nothing if it's not going to be a step towards reparations in the near future. Then I don't. Then we need to be against it and we need to reject it. You know, if look, we'll look at every other group that's getting policy that transforms them. Let's look at the LGBT. They got all kind of policies underneath Barack Obama, and then just underneath Joe Biden now. You know, the Supreme Court sides with them. The Supreme Court then turn around and sides against the Civil Rights Act of 1866, making it harder to sue for discrimination. We look at various, which is, let's keep it honest, mostly Latino, Hispanic speaking people coming from Hispanic speaking countries in Central America and, you know, Mexico and um, South America and things like that. They got the DACA law, the DACA, you know, not legislation, but the laws regarding that. the act, the executive action, and how the Supreme Court has ruled, and what Congress has done. All of those things have been in favor of that particular sect or group of people, if you want to call them that, right? I mean, it's all, so much of this is bending over backwards for groups that have not made the contribution we made. And you know, you look at the mobility of those groups, it's upward. Ours is not. So I don't understand how people could. Now, if you got an issue with somebody that wants the people that you want to call who are ADOS, you know, the leaders at the top of that organization, that's one thing. But don't be having no smoke with real reparationists, people that's really about reparations, people that's really about our people that's not that's just willing to sacrifice, and that's putting it out here, that's sacrificing their time, they're sacrificing their energy, relationships, their time with their family to advocate and try to make this thing a reality. What, and you're gonna use your position with Roland Martin to speak against us, dude? Yeah, that's foul, man. In my opinion, that's foul, and we ain't got time for that, man. If look, just like the old freedman grandmama's statement, if you don't have nothing good to say about reparations, keep your mouth closed.
Don't say it at all.
Sister, we gotta really develop this waiver program to get these people to sign these waivers and get them out the way.
That has to be a part of the whole reparationist study in and of itself. I believe that it should be included in any final decision made on reparations. Those blacks like Herschel Walker, et cetera, who are not for reparations, signing a waiver so that whatever monies that was allocated to them could help fund whatever programs that we need funded over the
it's even simpler. It's even simpler than that, because you still, if the program is constructed and developed and funded, you would still have to enroll, and so that you could meet the criteria and be vetted to see if you are a qualified recipient. All you gotta do is just keep on minding your damn business, and you won't have to worry about it. If you don't want it, just stay out the way. Keep doing what you're doing.
And remember now, what they're looking to do is widen and expand the who would qualify for reparations. They don't like the fact that Darity's criterion narrows it, and this is what a lot of this is actually about. In their own ways, they're shooting at Dr. Darity. A lot of them, that's what they're doing.
Well, and they needed to go ahead and just do that, but don't be coming at the people. If y'all want to have an academic debate about, you know, his academic position or his economic position, have a debate with that brother. But don't be trying to stop a whole entire movement because you have a academic beef or a jousting competition with Dr. Darity. Don't do that. Y'all are colleagues. Go about that the right way. You produce some work. He wrote a book. Where's your book at? Produce your book and flesh out what facts you think support your weird position, and then put that out to the people and let the people be the judge. You know what I'm saying? But you can't be trying to stifle a whole entire movement because you don't like what another scholar has produced. That's insane. You know what I'm saying?
And I believe whites on the left, they are amenable to some of these things that brothers are talking about, dealing with, you know, well, let's just give this to education and let's take 5% of this and do that. That's amenable. But what you should be doing is using that energy to make it, you know, make some type of plan that you can get our people to get galvanized behind, to put pressure on the system, or, you know, to make some kind of moves. Or you could be using that to make the case to whites on the left, you know. But because as long as you keep coddling that type of sentiment, you keep coddling them and allow them to remain where they are instead of moving them closer towards justice, they're gonna. I mean, it's just like, again, it's the same thing Obama was doing. Well, because somebody was asking me, well, Obama was supporting reparations. He wasn't. He has the right to. And I was like, he has the right to advocate for any cause. If you want to advocate for LGBT, and if he wants to prioritize LGBT rights and the working and middle class white Americans over black folks, he has the right to do that. But it should be a consequence for that. there should be a consequence for that. You do not, you get to be canceled, you know, in terms of being the most prominent speaker for me. You don't get to speak for me. You no longer get to speak for me. But that's not the position that a lot of people, that's not going to be good for having a prominent place in America, because you know, the story behind Barack Obama is, look, this is a black man who elevated to the top position in the land as the most powerful seat in the government in the world, right? But that story doesn't mean nothing if none of the black people rock with you, you know. And if you speaking against reparations, let's just keep it real. Black folks should not rock with you, period.
Facts. And you know what's so interesting is that there was an article, I believe it was in the New York Times or the Washington Post. I read sometime after the death of George Floyd. It's a conservative writer. It may have been the Times. And he, after analyzing the situation, switched his position on reparations. Just recently, another white guy came out and did a whole video talking about why reparations has to happen. And his video was two white people. There are more white people in media spaces starting to speak about this issue of reparations, that it is deserved. Yeah, they have their questions about who should it go to, et cetera, et cetera. And what Carr and Cobra and Narc and people like Jam Iwuyar, if I'm pronouncing her name right, are doing, they're muddying the waters. They're not look, let's pull this article up right here, right? Because this camelbacks on the article that I pulled up from 1995. Let us look at this. This is from Vanderbilt.edu. When being an immigrant makes it more, not less, likely to have a job. Counterintuitive findings reveal how race shapes the immigrant experience and the impact of education on employment outcomes for certain groups. In the United States, Black immigrants are more likely to both be in the labor force and working than Blacks born in the US. But a college degree erases that difference, according to a surprising new analysis, et cetera, et cetera. Presented at the Population Association of America's 2015. I don't even have to read the rest of that. Let me just reiterate this opening sentence. In the United States, Black immigrants are more likely to both be in the labor force and working than Blacks born in the US. How is it that we're born here? How do you not see? How can you be an Afrocentric or Afrocentrist and not understand the plight of the people here? I watched Dr. John Henrik Clark's, I think it's called The Long Walk Home or something like that, but it was the interview that was conducted by Wesley Snipes that first aired in '96. I actually watched that interview when it aired live. And in all of my wisdom years later, I watched it through a whole completely different lens. And in it, I was able to understand Afrocentrism a little better, but from one that was more connected to our struggle than someone like a Dr. Carr, someone like an Yvette Carnell, right? Because Yvette doesn't believe that we have any culture. I call her a culture vulture, but she believes that Black people are cultureless outside of white society. This is from her own words. And I don't believe that her position has changed, because over the past year, I've heard her attack some of our cultural norms. I've heard her attack Islam, which has been very culturally aspiring to Black people in the United States of America. But the point that I'm making is that you can't see the plight of our people here and be disinvested from the data. So, you know, my bros have come to the conclusion that they're really just shooting their arrows at Dr. Darity because of the criteria that he sets forth. This means that you are ignoring the data. The data doesn't mean anything to you. Because if you can push for reparations for the whole diasporic group, particularly in the United States of America, these are Carr's own words. He said that the people that came over here and experienced any form of discrimination should be included in the reparations claim. And yet I can pull up an article from 1995 that spoke to how Caribbean immigrants were surpassing Black Americans in so far as the job place and high profile positions in the United States of America.
So
I can fast forward to right now where I just pulled up an article from today. Matter of fact, when was this article published?
So what he's going to talk about
very recently.
Very recently. I know it just came out.
They're going to talk about the injustice done to the immigrant Marcus Garvey, the injustice done to the immigrant Botham John, or I don't know if Botham John was born here, but he's if he was, he's obviously a descendant of immigrants. He's going to talk about the injustice done to Amadou Diallo, the injustice done to what's the other brother's name out there in Brooklyn, where the police sodomized him. What's the
Abner Louima.
Abner Louima. So these are going to be the go-to arguments. I just want to throw that out there so we can address those.
But that again, when you're dealing with those instances, right, you have to look at those at specific cases, right? That is not a justice claim that can be tied in to Jim Crow, to Black laws, through the Negro Act, through chattel slavery. We're not saying you don't deserve justice for that stuff. We're saying that you can't tie that into the way we have constructed our specific justice claim. Why are you mad that we have a justice claim that is specific to these specific harms? We're not saying that, I'm not saying that those atrocities are not harms and that possibly y'all don't have a good justice claim that could be constructed or worthy of construction. But you cannot just say, I'm not going to do no work in constructing my own justice claim. I'm going to make y'all put my justice claim into, or I want to benefit off y'all justice claim based upon some of the things that have happened to me since I've been here. That's just not how it works. But another point is, if as a capitalist society, why wouldn't capitalists support reparations? Because the whole idea of capitalism is supposed to be about, competition in the free market, right? This would boost competitiveness, right? This would boost competition, and this would electrify the free market if you had people that actually had access to, there was a study done saying that the GDP would be increased by $16 trillion if reparations was done, or if Black folks hadn't been shut out the way that they were shut out. You understand what I'm saying? So everything about reparations is good for the nation. But the problems is the emotional sentiments that's tied to it. Because we're still dealing with racism, we're still dealing with inferiority, we're still dealing with captive mindsets and things of that nature. So you got these people who are afraid of how white people will react to a successful justice claim like this. And they were like, you know what? White folks are going to be mad. Y'all niggas better stop talking about justice. Y'all are going to upset white folks. We have a whole lot of Uncle Ruckus politics going on right now. We cannot allow that. We have to be very, very important. So as a capitalist nation, it's actually in the national interest to support reparations. It's actually good for capitalism. It promotes entrepreneurship. Right? It promotes and helps out consumerism. It helps out all facets of life. So if you have a wealthless group in a capitalist society, they don't even have a chance to participate in capitalism. But so capitalism is kind of hurting because you have such a large, influential, and foundational group that can't even participate. So if you give the necessary policies that we deserve, and then you give us the equity that we've put into this country, now you have bolstered and invigorated capitalism. So all you so-called capitalists who love capitalism, you should all be pro-reparations.
Exactly. So I mean, you know, we calling out the smoke.
Can we play that Rolling Martin clip one more time for people who may have just been joining in?
Yeah,
and don't know?
I wanted to do that like 15 minutes ago. So you are absolutely on point with that. Let's for those that haven't seen the clip, let us play this clip and let me see, replay video.
Just ADOS foolishness. Everybody.
Let's go back.
See, this is where we don't get into this ADOS foolishness. Everybody slow down, okay? Because it isn't just about who was enslaved. It's about now what attaches to blackness as a consequence of enslavement. So I don't care where you come from in the world. America, blackness attaches to you as a form of stigma.
Greg, the ADOS and the foundational black people gonna be upset with you.
All of you. I want all of the smoke because it's baby smoke, number one. And number two, I'm a descendant of those who was enslaved. And number three, bring your best in fact, bring them all. In the words of William Rakim Griffith, I take 7 MCs, put them in a line, and then find 7 more brothers who think they can rhyme. Then find 7 more before I go for mine. And that's 21 MCs. 8 up.
You know what's
because when you understand is there's no art.
You know what's interesting too, and I've seen a number of these guys try to use this argument that some of the black people who came here came from the Caribbean. Let's say some of the people in the Carolinas came from the Caribbean, or some of the people in Louisiana came from the Caribbean. Let's deal with that for a second, because I think the fact that they're using that type of fallacy, right? And I'm not saying it's a fallacy in the sense of it didn't happen. It's true that there were people from the island that is now called Haiti that fought during the American Revolution, right? And I don't even know if I really want to call it a fight, right? Because they got, basically, if you read the story of it, they came and kind of got their asses kicked, right? They kind of got their asses handed to them. But the question is, were these people actually Haitian, right? And so the fact is, you see how people keep taking information like that and then they change the context of it. Those people weren't Haitians. Haiti didn't even exist at the time, right? That place was an actual French colony. So basically, you had Africans, here's the thing. I hate even using the term African because it's a broad term, just like black is, right? And it doesn't really tell you who the people are. So you have multiple ethnic groups of people caught up in the Atlantic slave trade, brought into the Americas, etc. And in that place that they called Hispaniola, right? And then the French took it, right? And so they later, the place called Haiti, they wound up calling Haiti. But at the time, the French had control over that island, and those people were descendants of the inhabitants of Africa who were being held down there and were being used to fight with the French on behalf of the Patriots fighting against the British, right? I think they was fighting for the Patriots. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what side they were fighting on. Maybe they were fighting for the British, but whatever. The fact that I think they were fighting for the Patriots. So the fact of the matter is, those were not Haitians. Those were those were people from Africa who were brought into that place that later became Haiti. So there's a lot of fallacious arguments that these people are using to try to make it seem like because certain events happen, that these people are not actually freemen. If somebody from what is considered the Caribbean today came to what is the United States, got caught up in Negro chattel slavery, and their descendants are still in this country till this day, that's not a Caribbean argument. That's a freedman argument. That's still part of the justice claim. But they trying to, you see how they keep trying to flip that stuff and try to make it seem as if, well, we got to include the Caribbeans because some of these people came from the Caribbean. Nah, man, that wasn't Haiti, that wasn't Jamaica. Those was Africans that was brought here and got caught up in Negro chattel slavery, and now their descendants are here, just like our people are the descendants of whatever Africans that was brought here through Charleston, South Carolina, or the ports of the slave ports of Georgia or Louisiana. You can't talk like it's too much fallacious nonsense going on. But go ahead, Brother Grimm. It sounded like you wanted to go in.
No, I just wanted to add to that just a little bit, bro. Because y'all going in that they even make the argument, because we talked about this in before in our personal conversation. They like to make the argument that Prince Hall was from Barbados, which is a historical inaccuracy, and I've been wanting to speak on that for a while. If you read the book called Black Square and Compass by Joseph Walks discussed the true origin of Prince Hall. For those who don't know who Prince Hall is the founder of the African American fraternal order known as Prince Hall Freemasonry in America, an organization that's actually older than the Constitution itself. But anyway, it's Prince Hall was not of Barbadian descent. Much respect for the people from Barbados, but Prince Hall was not a Barbadian. He was a descendant of Africa who was enslaved sometime between the age of 9 years old, probably between 9 and 13 years old, and came to America. And Joseph Walks, also Dr. Charles Wesley, who was he was also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha and the Prince Hall Mason. They looked up that information that was actually said by one of the old Grand Masters by the name of William Grimshaw. And William Grimshaw made up the story that Prince Hall came from Barbados. But when people like Wesley and Joseph Walks started looking up the information, they couldn't find no record of Prince Hall being born in Barbados or coming from Barbados. So, along with what you're saying, that's misinformation as well.
That's right.
Yeah, but right. A lot of these people who came here from those islands, like you were saying, before the end of chattel slavery, and those people are basically freedmen, man. Period.
That's right. And I'm gonna say this: people like Prince Hall are what you would call a foundational Black American. See, that term is very accurate, and I see that and I'm saying that because Roland Martin, the foundational Black people, he tried to ridicule that a little something, but that term is actually very accurate if you understand it in its proper context. Right, Prince Hall is one of the foundational Black Americans. As you can look at people like Crispus Attucks and others who were here at the time of the founding of the nation and who considered themselves members of this society, functioned as members of this society, and even fought on behalf of the Patriots to establish this thing called the United States of America. So at the end of the day, foundational Black American is an accurate term within a proper understanding of how that thing actually applies. You understand? I just wanted to put that out.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, Ali. And just to give the proper context of what you're saying, from my understanding, what you're saying is those people that they try to tie into being of Caribbean descent that came over to America and got caught up in the slavery in the United States of America. They're no more Jamaican than they are Igbo.
Come on, Josh. Come on,
right?
Simple as
that.
And
man, I think look, I've heard of George Carr. I've heard him speak a few times. I don't know that much about him. I'm not a follower of his as far as his work in African Americana and African American studies. But I don't. So I can't necessarily say that he's a bad and ingenuous person.
Disingenuous.
Yeah, y'all follow that more than I do. But my whole thing is this, man, don't let nobody gas you up, because for me, from what I saw from the clip and what y'all talking about, it kind of seemed like brother man was like gassed up. You ever been, just like in the hood, they had the
Yeah.
brother in the hood, they gas you up, punch the biggest dude, and like, yeah, man, you can, you take him, and then you wind up getting beat down.
Get beat up.
That what you looking at is a situation like that with a lot of these people who may have an issue with certain stances that have been made, so they gas up their colleagues or whatever. But if their colleagues would have took an intelligent look at this stuff originally, I don't think they would have had as much, minus being a grifter. Oh man, I don't even know why I said that word. Minus being a huckster, trying to cheat their people. I don't see that nobody having really any real true argument against that, except some people, man, who feel they might not miss out on a check, because they lived here for in the 1970s or what have you. But this whole thing is a mess, man. I'm gonna just say this and be quiet. This whole thing is a mess, and it's been made a mess. And I will always go back to this, that to advance these arguments that the FBA people are doing, and some of the ADOS people, and some of the people that's claiming the freedman status, these waters have been seriously muddied by Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. That's just the bottom line. And I'm not cursing them. I'm not insulting them. I'm just telling the fact, because, when you start doing stuff super, super toxic and start off your claims super toxic, like you have start them off, then you always putting out fires, and you can never put out all the fires when you start off your strategy like that. So, you've attached, or they've attached, a particular stigma to these arguments that we'll probably, I ain't gonna say spend the rest of our days, because y'all know, bro, I'll fall back in a second. But the bottom line is that you will spend a lot of time trying to clean up arguments because somebody have made you appear to be a xenophobe and this, that, and all the mudslinging and the lying and the deceiving and the power grab, has seriously muddied the water to this argument of specificity, man. And like the reason I say that the freedmen or the freedom fighters and the freedom people, because y'all want to know who ended apartheid in South Africa, or who aided in the ending of apartheid in South Africa? Basically, man, freedmen. That's right. Foundational Black Americans, freedmen. Basically helped to end apartheid. We are the justice people. So, I mean, man, if y'all let us make a claim and win those particular arguments, y'all don't think we gonna go deal with Britain and Great Britain and what they owe Jamaica and all of the Dutch and the Portuguese, the Spanish, and what they owe other people around the world? We are the freedom people, man, and we've always done that. Man, we ain't got nothing, man, and half of the people sleeping out, not half the people, but a lot of us, man, sleeping outside of immigrant children camps and stuff, go fighting for the immigrants. When they was trying to build them pipelines through the Native American lands, a lot of African Americans jumped on that and went down there and started protesting with
That's right.
with the Native Americans, man. We are the freedom people. We ain't gonna leave nobody hanging. But if the freedmen or the descendants of freedmen, sons and daughters of freedmen, is not allowed to heal from a specific justice claim that was from wrong that was perpetrated by the United States, then, man, we gonna keep spinning the wheels. And I personally believe the worse off the world is going to be in general if we don't fix African Americans.
Indeed. Indeed, brother. Yeah, nah, I agree
Say something
100%,
too,
man.
like
Go
because
ahead,
go ahead,
Josh.
Ali, my bad.
No,
Nah,
no,
go ahead,
no.
go ahead, you got it. All right, I
I
was just
want
gonna
you to lose
say,
your
you
thought.
know, you know how I be doing. Oh, ain't no more sun. Let me. So, you know, one of the things that I was thinking about too, like just to build on what you're saying, Grim, how we've sacrificed for every in fighting freedom, the freedom fight for everybody else, you know, because we always understood that if we put in help the work and fighting. I mean, number one, that's all we know. That's all we've been doing since the beginning of our experience here in America. But we always understood that if we help freedom um, elsewhere, it's going to put the pressure on our government to make them have to, you know, institute some form of freedom or relieve some of the terrible white supremacy pressure that's on us to some extent. Just like you were talking about South Africa. But South Africa, yeah, we fought for that, but also like the pressure that we put on our government at home to correct some of its ills, it made it to where they could even they can make it look like that they care about us here by just adhering to fighting against, you know, in a hypocritical way, fighting against the apartheid in South Africa. You know, that was kind of like an out for them. So those people in South Africa even benefited off of our fight, not even us fighting for their freedom fight there, but they benefited off us fighting for our freedom fight here, because it kind of gave white politicians like Joe Biden and all of them out to say, well, I'm not racist. Look, I didn't help the people in South Africa. Like, it gave us fighting, putting the pressure on our government here, even made it to where those people were more likely to help black folks elsewhere, because it's a easier political fight to say you helping black folks in South Africa than it is to say you know you have to deal with the ramifications of fighting for us here, right? Uh, and then uh, also when you think about how, you know, in recent times we're talking about family separation and separating the children at the DACA borders and all that kind of stuff, but we didn't see a reciprocal um, advocacy to fight for family separation that happens when they separate families, putting mothers in jail and fathers in jail for all kind of hyper criminalization through mass incarceration. And you I mean, a lot of times families are left with especially with the cash bail system and all of that kind of stuff. Man, there's a large scale family separation of black folks, putting people in prison and
That's
putting people in jails and holding people in jails for extended periods of time, and they're not even gotten a trial yet. You know what's happening to the
right.
children that's going to the foster system, that have nobody to care for them. But there was not a reciprocal advocacy for ending, you know, the hypercriminalization and the mass incarceration and the different systems that promote the Native Black American family separation. So
That's
we need some of that energy reciprocated, and if we don't get that reciprocated, we damn sure need to have the energy focus on our issues, and we need that from not only just the Black Caucus and those that are going to be voted to replace those that don't adhere to that, but scholars and university professors and all these other kind of Black advocates. Nah, we gotta start making sure that we focus and keep the main thing the
that's right.
main thing.
You know what's interesting? The sister Erica Alexander has a podcast that she's just recently started, specifically about the issue of reparations for the descendants of the freedmen, right? And they're making sure that they're specific to that. And it's her and a European guy who's actually who are doing the podcast together. I think Charlemagne the God is like one of the producers of it or something of that nature. But they're making sure that this conversation stays centered on the descendants of the freedmen, right? And I appreciate that coming from her, because she's also a descendant of freedmen, and I appreciate the fact that she has a European American who's also speaking to this very issue, and he's saying, and he made the point to say that the criteria that Dr. Darity had put out was something, basically was like, this is something that kind of makes sense. And I think that Congress, to be honest with you, I think that Congress would adopt Dr. Darity's criteria, because I think they would want to do everything that they could to narrow the recipient base of any reparations program in this country. Obviously, they don't, for a bunch of people who don't want to do reparations anyway, they're going to want to narrow it. So I think Dr. Darity's criteria, which makes all the sense in the world, understanding the actual American history and what happened here and to whom it happened, I think that it will make it makes all the sense in the world. And I think that Congress would have no problem adopting his criteria as for who the beneficiary should be. And I think that's a big problem, part of the problem as to why they're attacking the way that they are, because they understand that the more people that latch onto this concept of a criteria, the more it's going to be heard, and the more that the people in Congress are going to say this makes all the sense in the world, and they want to suppress that kind of thought, and they want to suppress that idea just to keep that from really catching on. But I don't think there's anything they can do to keep it from catching on. What you got? What you think, Naheem?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, this thing is lit right now. Since George Floyd's murder, there have been article after article after article written about reparations. That is going to place the focus on HR 40. That is going to place the focus on the scholarship that is being centered around the reparations claim, and From Here to Equality is the premier piece of scholarship on the subject, which is why we see like these back channel, what's the word I'm looking for? They're trying to exclude people like Dr. Darity from, and basically any economists who agree with the criteria and the specificity from the conversation. So, I mean, they can't stop it, right? At the end of the day, I want to read this quote, and this is something that Brother Grimm shared with me a few years ago, and I've read it maybe 2 other times on this platform, and I want to read it again. This is from Booker T. Washington, and it reads, "There is another class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Having learned that they are able to make a living out of their troubles, they have grown into the settled habit of advertising their wrongs, partly because they want sympathy and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs." Going back to Roland Martin's platform, right? What would it be if the only news he reported all day was just all good news? Right? What if we galvanized ourselves in the southern states? I'm gonna just go ahead and mention it, like Charles Blow is suggesting in his new book, and became this political force, and we control at the minimum 12 Senate seats at the minimum. How does it look then for us when we're in control of our own politics, when we're in control over our own well-being as a people? We're able to maneuver and manipulate the Congress now. We're able to get bills passed, et cetera, for our purpose. What happens if we get reparations? You see, it goes back to that quote by Booker T when he says they have grown into the settled habit of advertising our people's wrongs. This is still going on today, partly because they want sympathy and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs. It's as simple as that, right? We take a Roland Martin, and we can critique Roland Martin without being derisive with it. I can critique him. When Barack Obama was president, there was a need for people like Roland Martin and Al Sharpton on mainstream media. As soon as his presidency was over, There was no need for Al Sharpton and Roland Martin in the mainstream media. You see? So this quote from Booker T. Washington, it's hard to even call it prescient when it has just been happening ever since his time. But the fact of the matter is it's still going on, and there are certain groups of politicians at the high end that don't want this reparations issue to go no further than where it's going, but it's so hard to escape. I mean, I got articles, some of them I'm not even going to share them, but it's article after article after article about reparations, most of them written by white people. You got guys on their YouTube channel, white guys doing pieces on reparations, why Black people need reparations. So this conversation isn't going anywhere. HR 40, the bill obviously is not going anywhere. You know, some people like my sister Dawn in the chat, she wanted to pass as is, right? But there's some of us who are saying no, let's get rid of it, etc. But that's our fight at the end of the day. That's the inter-freedmen, U.S. freedmen fight, right? But nevertheless, this conversation is here to stay until reparations becomes a reality. And I want to say one more thing. We have to watch Obama behind the scenes. I think I'm just frozen all over the place. So let me exit out of this, man.
Yeah, can I say
One of the
something?
things we gotta.
Nah, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
Hold on.
You got double audio happening. Go ahead, Josh. What you?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yeah. We hear you.
Yeah. So I mean, look, man. Barack Obama. You know, Barack Obama is highly problematic in this reparations space because he gives cover for white folks and that are against reparations. Right? If you go back and read the Federalist Papers, when you read Madison's breakdown of why federalism is important in regards to mob rule, you'll understand why America needs a bottom caste. At least that's my interpretation of it, right? At least that's my interpretation of it. So, but it also, when you read between the lines of what Madison is saying, it has to be a regulated bottom caste or else the poor will rise up and eat the rich. That was the basis of the Joker movie. If you really understand it, it is, to me, it was the Madison's words in the Federalist Papers come to fruition. So we have to understand that there are certain actors that are going to try to step on reparations every chance that they get. We have to remove the iconic status of Barack Obama from amongst us. One, because he's not us.
Right.
Two, under his rule as president, we had some of the worst economic downturns. All of our gains were lost. I mean, I can pull up article after article from The Intercept, I believe from The Atlantic, from Jacobin. There are PDFs that were published on how Barack Obama's disastrous policy, well, let me not say disastrous. I will say how his policies benefited white America and were disastrous for Black America. They weren't disastrous for white Americans. We have to become diligent in our political push. And if we have to fight Dr. Carr and Roland Martin and Avis Weaver and the rest of the Roland Martin crew, we're going to fight them and we're going to win because they don't come from where we come from, number one. They come from more of an elite class. They don't have the same process of thinking that we have. Their process is more robotic in nature. It is cookie cutter. It is cookie cutter. It is talking points mixed with a little street jazz. You know, you see Roland Martin doing, right? You hear Dr. Carr quoting Rakim. Nah, we really lived that though, homie.
Right.
We really lived
Right.
that. So
You know,
Yeah.
go ahead, Josh. I don't want you to forget. I don't want you to
No,
forget.
real quick, I'm just gonna say this is not our job. Like our job is not to come on every day and do YouTube program, and that's not how we sustain it. You know, that's not how. This is what we, and this is not something that we just doing in the moment. That we just start. You know, yeah, we may have just started broadcasting underneath the banner "Be the Power" in 2020, but this is all of us have been, you know, have a shared value set that you see on display here. This same stuff we talking about, we pretty much felt this way for years and years. So when we come in on this, we don't have we don't have any aspiration for no elevation in with no political party or with no, you know, that's not what none of this stuff is based in. So I don't know what they talking about. I don't know if that's the case over there. We can speculate, you know, and some people may say that, but just understand what we're saying is based on genuine desire to see our justice for our people. Period. It's not coming from nowhere of no individualist aspiration and no idealism and no desire to be elevated in no kind of other space and nothing like that. No, it's just for what's right and just and how we you know really for our earthly salvation. Go ahead, Ali.
No, I agree with everything that you're saying there, good brother. I agree 100%. And so, anyway, we are coming up on 2 hours. I don't want us, you know, to
yeah.
go far over. But what you think, brother Naheem?
What is so far as
So far as what Josh was just saying.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is at the end of the day, and it's clear, right? It's not like it's a issue that has no clarity. It's clear. I mean, it's just clear. So there's really no debate to be had for those of us that know and can see just how clear it is. The onus is now upon them, the Carrs of the world that's claiming that they want to smoke, to simply step up and show and prove. And I'm hoping that we're not so far down the totem pole of elitism that they wouldn't see something like this and respond and say, you know, right? Like, we don't got to respond to these guys. At the end of the day, like Josh just said, we just start doing this in 2020. A year, we matter of fact, March will make a year that we start doing BTP. A year from now, the wind will be beneath our wings, and we're going to be flying this thing all over the country. There are many reparationists that are out there putting in a lot of work. Shout out to Sister Dawn and the Reparationist Collective that have put that did the march in Washington, D.C. The first of many. My BTP Josh was there. You know, again, anything that's going on in the DMV, particularly D.C. area, BTP Josh is in the building. Sister Dawn, she said in the clubhouse room, I would love to bring Dr. Carr.
Yeah, but I think what they're saying is, I think what the Sister Kelly is says is that she said he knows he effed up. That's why he's running around trying to do damage control interviews, but he's still hitting brick walls. So if they're talking about Dr. Carr, and I think Sister Dawn is saying on Clubhouse he's trying to do that. I believe that's what they're saying. If I'm mistaken, y'all let me know.
Okay. Yeah, because look, can you play Naheem? You go to that 3-minute Roland Martin clip. If you can go to like the 1 minute and 36-second mark.
Yeah, I don't have that one, bro. That wasn't the clip we had pulled up.
We had a shorter clip.
Yeah, that was a shorter clip.
But
just reiterate. I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'm on my phone now, but I'm gonna put it in the chat. If you can bring it up. Hold up, I'm about to put it in the chat now.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Go to the 1 minute and 36-second mark, because when he's talking about reparations, I'm like, I will be open to like a 5% wealth tax, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? That's number one. That's not how any taxes is not how any reparations program is funded. You know, taxes is, and you know, that's just not how this thing is gonna work. Hold up,
So
but y'all can play the clip. Go
so
to the
basically
136.
136 mark. So basically, he exposed his lack of understanding of from the economics perspective how this thing would and should actually work. So he kind of stepped in a pile of it, and now he's trying to fix it because he's getting all kind of pushback, I guess, you know.
Yeah, and the clip that timestamp, it doesn't include the statement about the consequences of blackness, but we already touched on that, so we can
Right.
go
All right,
ahead.
so let's play this, but we're gonna close it out after this, fam. Let's share this. Let's see what this guy's talking about. I mean, he wants all the smoke. But didn't we just do a show on fake black Indians? We might have to throw up some smoke signals. We throwing up smoke signals right now, Dr. Carr.
Transfer.
All right,
I'm
come on.
open to perhaps a 5% tax on people above a certain
Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Let's
family was able to make this, and so as where else. But when I came here, I inherited whiteness, and so as a consequence, my family was able to make some wealth.
wait. Hold on.
Came here from somewhere else. But so the bottom line, Frankie says, is she says, I'm a white woman. My people came here from somewhere else. But when I came here, I inherited whiteness. And so as a consequence, my family was able to make some wealth. In the wealth transfer, I'm open to perhaps a 5% tax on people above a certain inheritance, and that money then go to community land trust, health care, these kind of things, which are then targeted to these communities that have suffered generationally as a consequence. And I'm saying that that's not just reparations for black people, that's giving your little ass country a chance to survive, because if you don't remedy this, it's over, baby. It's not going to last another century, because we're going to take it. We're going to take it, and we're not going to take it.
Now he's talking anarchy.
In Detroit.
Wow, man. Wow. That's all I can
Memphis. We're going to take it, in other words, for all those places that very shortly will be majority non-white, and there'll never be another Coach Tuberville reduced to being introduced to the United States Senate, because Alabama's going another way, and it ain't red and it ain't blue. It's black. Wait.
So in other words,
hey, look, I agree with some of that last part of what he said.
Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna get to that.
We're gonna get to that though. We'll get to that, but
not on this program.
Not on this program. I feel you. But go ahead, Ali.
The truth and falsehood is strangely mixed. But listen, here's what's interesting, right? I can see now why he's trying to do damage control, because it's not the stuff that he said about ADOS or wealth transfers. It's the shit that he said that sound anarchist. It almost sound like some kind of call for insurrection. You understand what I'm saying? We gonna take it, and it ain't gonna be cute. So his job, shit, man, those kind of comments, his job might be on the line at this point, man. Like, yo, what you on there saying? You trying to call for some kind of is that what you got out of it too, Grim? Like, because that's what I got out of his comments.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo,
he let his mouth write a check that his ass can't cash, you know.
That's another one of them old Freeman catechisms, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man, hey, Dr. Carr, if you are listening, if Roland is listening, Sister Avis, I know you probably listening. She blocked me on Facebook. My arguments was too strong. But if y'all are listening, we throwing out some smoke signals. If you want to have a good intellectual build with some brothers that know what they're talking about on this particular topic, I mean, you ain't got to deal with them ADOS trolls. Come deal with some real brothers, some real sharp. Come deal with the freedmen.
You know what I'm saying? Talk to the freedmen. Like, and you should, to be honest with you, you should be having conversations with the freedmen, not talking at the freedmen or about the freedmen or down.
That's right.
Talk to us. Don't talk at us. You know what I'm saying? Because it's about, ultimately, it's about us and our families is what we're talking about when you talk about this generational transfer of the consequences of blackness. We're talking about our family, not somebody who decided they wanted to come here in the 60s or 70s to try to come up on all of the struggles that our people done already went through. Like,
Yeah,
come
and
on.
reparations wouldn't be going to those communities. What communities are you talking about? Those communities? No, you need it should be going to the descendants.
What's
That's what we're
going
talking
on
about.
with the HU alums, man?
Yeah, I
Something
wanted to say, I wanted
something
to say
ain't right.
something. Yeah, I wanted to say something real quick, Naheem, about what he said about the tax thing
Mm-hmm.
and taxing a certain amount. What he said, 5% or something like that. Tax on the wealthy or something like that for
5%.
reparations.
That sounds like a redistribution of wealth that the
Right.
Republicans are definitely ain't trying to hear at all.
Yeah. Not only does it sound like a redistribution of wealth at the Republicans, but I don't believe that they could create a income threshold for the quote unquote rich and directly tax them that'll be enough for reparations.
No, not at all.
That's right.
So that's a economic misunderstanding in regards to the numbers, in regard to what's actually owed. Not only what's actually owed, but what actually will produce change. Basically, it ain't enough money. You could tax all them rich people, it ain't gonna be enough money to make change. That's all I'm saying.
And real quick, just to run down how the federal government funds program. It ain't from no taxes. All your tax dollars did not fund programs at the federal level. At the federal level, at the state level, and the local level, yes. At the federal level, no. All programs are funded through the U.S. Treasury. They didn't need to raise taxes to pay out to issue the $29 trillion in the
Right.
bank bailout. They didn't need to raise taxes to do the $6 trillion in the first COVID stimulus. They didn't need to raise taxes when they sent you a little $1,200 earlier this year. They didn't need to raise taxes to do any of that. And guess what? Matter of fact, that was after George H. Bush, whatever, George W. Bush cut taxes during his term. I think his first term, he did a serious tax cut. Then, Trump did his round of tax cuts, like the first year or the second year, whatever he was in office, he did his tax cuts. So if anything, it was like less revenue. It was less revenue that the government has created, and they didn't have no problem rolling out that stimulus. So they can pay out reparations. The only issue is not being able to generate the money. It's not a fear of having too high of a deficit, because the public deficit is the private surplus. That's the citizens have a surplus when the higher the public deficit is. So all it is just doing good bookkeeping. The only risk there is the inflationary risk. So we want to make sure we don't introduce too much currency into circulation at one time that can increase the level of inflation. So that's what your taxes are there to mitigate the inflation risk. So just understand that what he's talking about is not even showing a good understanding of how U.S. Fiscal operations even work under the United States Treasury, and that's not how any program was ever funded. Including, they didn't raise taxes to pay the Japanese Americans. They didn't raise taxes to pay Holocaust victims. They didn't raise taxes to pay the $7.3 billion into the 9/11 fund to compensate the victims and the descendants of those who were killed in 9/11 attacks. They did not raise taxes, do any of those. So yeah, I know this is in the trillions, but this still doesn't require raising of taxes. It just requires the political will. It requires the votes to get the United States Congress to put that money in the program for reparations for us. Period.
Indeed. So
Oh,
look,
and let me say real quick. Let me say before we end, because I
John.
don't want to go. I don't want to have to come back on again. I just want to say I don't know Dr. Carr like that, but I watched his program. I watched him speak, and I respect where he comes from with a lot of stuff he says. I appreciate. Sometimes I even enjoy watching some on him talk about certain subjects, because he goes in deep in the knowledge or whatever. But when you come and you speaking out against stuff like this, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, man. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You can't. It's like you gotta do better, Doc. But come and build with us. I love to hear what you got to say in rebuttal to what we said.
Indeed. As we close out, it reminds me of, it's so funny because I shared something from this well-respected scholar earlier by the name of Runoko Rashidi. And he had put out this post. It was in response to something that I had put out some years ago, which forced me to do a whole video on the topic of the Moors and blackness being an ethnic identifier, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that people kept telling me was, you can't defeat Runoko Rashidi on this topic. He's a scholar. He's written this many books. He's traveled around the world. I said, look, at the end of the day, it's not what you know, it's what you can show and prove. There are people that know a lot of stuff. I could sit here. I mean, we had some guy named Legendary Top Cats. I call him Legendary Top Cap, that came on, or I'll go into his clubhouse and just babble a whole bunch of nonsensical, made up history all day. I mean, for 2 hours straight, none of this stuff is true, right? So you can know a lot, but it's not what you know. It's what you can show and prove. And if you can prove, Dr. Carr, that reparations should go to the people that came here and suffered from Jim Crow, I mean, to find those people is going to be very, very difficult.
Right. I was going to say the very small amount of people.
Very difficult, right? But you now have the opportunity. You have a group of men that may be younger than you. Some of us may be younger than you, and that are now challenging you. We are now. We don't come from HBCUs. You know, some of us have college backgrounds, and some of us have gone to college, got a couple college credits actually, but we are for the most part autodidactic. So, I mean, it might be easy work for you if you would dare step up in the ring, but I assure you that it will not be. So the challenge is out there. We've heeded the call, and I mean, ain't too much more for us to say. So we will leave you all with the motto of this particular platform, which is, don't just fight the power, become the power, and then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.